All right, welcome to the minor cards, week 6, and we're starting off strong with the Suit of Wands. This is fire energy. Fire energy. And so the very first major page that I have for you, it shows you every minor card in the Suit of Wands. And so I talk about focusing on the messages and the meanings of 2 through 10, and we'll also learn about the Ace of Wands, the Page, the Knight, the Queen, the King, and then this is a simple summary. It's a simple summary. And I'm not going to read every one of these because I'll be reading it to you individually on the next cards. And so, but this is just like a quick cheat sheet that you can look at to look at each one of these. And I also like the progression of this. I will talk about that a little bit. So you have right here the Ace of Wands, a fresh start. And then you see the man between two wands. He's holding the world in his hands. And then you see him on the third, and he's looking out and he's looking at all of his opportunities. And then the Four of Wands is the celebration. The 5, we have conflict and some fighting. The 6, he's up on his horse, or he or she. I guess it's a he, but some of the tarot decks will make it gender neutral, or some even make them female. And then there's 7. He's got the wand surrounding him, a wand in his hand. Then there's 8 wands. There's 9, and then holding, and then 10 holding them all. So I like to kind of do the image like a story, especially for people like me who it's kind of difficult for us to learn the meanings without a story. And we're also going to talk about your first court, the Wands court. And the court starts with the page. You always have a page, you have a knight, you have a queen, and you have a king. And this page is young, fun, active, fearless with fresh ideas, and can be a little bit too impulsive as well, a little bit spoiled, unreliable. Now, when I'm telling you this, as I'm reading this to you, understand that the first part of this is that high vibe, upright version of the card, and the lower vibe is the reverse version. And the Knight of Wands, knights are always action, right? So he's full of courage, heroic, he's a go-getter, he loves a challenge, warm, passionate, gives his all. And sometimes he can go too far, a little too arrogant, a little too prideful. The queen is friendly. She's a leader who lets her creative side shine. She's talented. She succeeds in business, but she can be a little too bossy and maybe takes part in a little mean girl behavior. And the King of Wands is a fast thinker. He knows how to plan. He also knows how to delegate to others. But the whole kingdom suffers when he takes on too much or he refuses to give up control. And at the bottom, I have a little bit more about court cards. The fact that they represent us, the people in our lives, they can be tricky to read because they don't have exact meanings like the other cards do. But they do have very specific personalities. So they can tell us how a person might be thinking, feeling, or behaving, or how their friends or family are influencing a certain situation. Now we're going to get into each of these. That's why I didn't really read the summary for you because I wanted to kind of focus on it more one-on-one. So I'll tell you this. All aces are new beginnings. Every ace is a new beginning, good news, right? The difference is going to be what energy this suit brings in. So the Suit of Wands is going to bring in passion. You have to remember it's connected to Aries. It's connected to the fire signs. It's connected to Sagittarius. Excuse me, and Leo. I got the hiccups there. It brings out exciting things, right? It brings out that energy. And I will tell you that even as I'm not actually working with a card right now, but I'm connecting to and working with energy of the cards, I can feel this as an empath within my body. So I'm not surprised that little hiccup came out, because a lot of times when I'm connected to the spirit of the cards, and they do have their own energy. They have their own energy. I can feel different things. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk. I kind of get feeling like somebody's sitting on my chest, and just talking about the energy of the cards is enough to kind of make that happen. Especially wands, because they are confidence, they are creation, they are energy, they are passion, right? So so if anybody's looking for a fresh start, this is good. In reverse, it's delayed start. This is a very opposite card. Lack of passion, boredom, feeling creative, but you're stuck. You can't get it out there. And also pregnancy issues, because this is a birth card, but in reverse, it's an infertility card. All right, so we're going on with the 2. And if you remember in numerology, the 2 is 2 paths: decision, plans, discovery, and stepping out of your comfort zone. That's exactly what this card means for the wands. Usually it's with creative things, but it can be just within yourself in general. And when it's in reverse, you're not making a decision, you're scared, you fear change, you're canceling plans. Something has been withheld from you, it's not a go, or maybe you just don't know what choice to make. The upright of the 3 of Wands is, you can see he's standing there. You have to look at him. He's looking out into this land, and this is travel. This is opportunities, leading others, long distance opportunities, moving forward, growth, confidence. But when it's in reverse, things aren't working out. You're being held back by the past, held back by obstacles or failed relationships, or just fear that can happen. But the 4 is much more positive. I like to call this the marriage card, but it actually is any celebration: home, family, stability, joy. Remember, 4s are security. So joy, community, success, harmony, feeling secure by all of those things. But in reverse, there's some poor communication going on, unhappy families, canceled events. Things are not harmonious, and there's this lack of sense of belonging where you just feel like everything is kind of topsy-turvy. You don't feel secure at all where you're at. Which leads into the 5. Most 5 cards upright are negative. They're one of the rare cards, like the Devil with the Major, that when they're in, you would rather see this 5 come in reverse. Okay. The only real exception is the Hierophant, but all of the minor cards, I would rather see them in reverse. So the upright of this card is conflict and competition. It is opportunities for growth, but it usually happens through tension and fighting, duking it out, negative thoughts. In reverse, you're going to work together. You're going to end arguments, peace is coming, avoiding conflict, harmony, and finding that solution. All right, my favorite card, the 6 of Wands. I don't know, I just really love this card. This is victory, success, self-confidence, progress, fame and recognition, winning and praise. And I also like to call this the card of the mentor. A lot of times you'll get this card when people are going to look up to you and look to you for advice. In reverse, you got issues with ego and pride. You're seeking too much validation, arrogance, failure, not being recognized and having a problem with that. And then lack of reward. It's a 6. What about 7? Well, 7 is courage, standing up despite challenges, struggle, protection, but having the advantage. So you're standing up, you're making progress, but in reverse, it's conflict, overwhelm, frustration, lack of confidence, giving up, and just accepting defeat, and finally surrendering. Surrendering when you shouldn't, usually when you shouldn't. And the 8, messages and communication, progress, exciting opportunities, change, and travel, air travel especially. And so if somebody's wanting to know, are they going to get a job, and this card comes, the answer is yes. In reverse, though, miscommunication, bad timing, missed chances, not being prepared, and just being too impulsive. Doing things way too quickly. Too much of an impulse buy. And then we have the 9 and the 10. So the 9 is not giving up. You're nearing success. Yes, you're tired from the battle, maybe a little paranoid, wounded, guarded, but you need to stand your ground. And when it's in reverse, there's illness, defensiveness, Nothing's going your way, refusing to compromise at all and being let down and just really feeling defeated. Okay. Which is kind of leading into the 10. You see, he's carrying all of these wands and he's heavily burdened by these, this duty. There's struggles with emotional baggage, too much responsibility, feeling burnt out. And in reverse, it's going too far. You're starting to break down due to pressure, taking on way too much, needing to learn to say no. And then finally, there's a really strong message here that you need to release before you collapse. This is like a really good warning sign that will tell people, hey, something's going on here and you need to stop it. And so I covered this a little bit before, but the astrological connections here, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and then sometimes these are called rods, sometimes clubs, like in traditional cards, sometimes scepters. And the keywords are energy, drive, willpower, creativity. And finally, we have the Court of Wands, which I covered earlier. We'll just go over it a little bit, though. As you can see, and I won't read all of these, but there's like the good and the bad of a personality, the shadow self. And so right here with the Page of Wands, he's fun, he's that party guy. He's fearless, he's exciting, he brings us good news. He's kind of childlike, a little silly, a little goofy, but he can also be lazy, unreliable, too spoiled, a mama's boy, impatient, too impulsive, and he just lacks ideas. He's all play, no work, right? And then you can just see this in all of these characters here, like the Queen of Wands. She's a boss babe. She's confident. She's social. She's passionate. Oh, but don't get on her bad side. Then she's selfish and she can be a little bit of a bully. She can be jealous, revengeful. Just like the king can be too controlling and he can be a bully as well, an ineffective leader, whereas most of the time he's like a visionary. And the knight, usually if I see Knight of Wands in reverse, that is an indicator of a narcissist, very volatile, impatient, reckless, arrogant, a show off. Upright, he's warm, he's heroic, he's charming, he's adventurous, and it can indicate a move or a change of location as well. And your activity this week is all about the court cards. So I said to look at the court cards and write down who in your life could represent each one of these cards. Is there a personality that fits more with the upright or reversed or both? Do you resonate with any of these? Like, if you're honest with yourself, is any of this your shadow side or your higher self? Which one of these fits? And I think by personalizing these and then kind of writing a story about it, it can help us really connect with these cards. All right. Thank you for joining me for the court cards, all the cards of the wands. And we have the Suit of Cups next.